What is it about the cyber landscape that seems to make young people disproportionate purveyors and victims of this stuff?
I think there are so many factors that come into play here. There is the breadth of the conversations and narratives, so you feel like you're not the only one who has that feeling, that attitude, that perception. So it feels safe. It feels safe just to be behind the computer. That you can, in spite of the fact that you're not anonymous, there's a feeling of anonymity in that space. So again, that's another thing that makes you feel safe and free to express yourself as you would. And I think that there's also the affected voices and the sympathetic voices are often silenced, and so the louder voices are probably the most harmful and the most damaging.
And the most amplified.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, it permits others to express themselves in a similar way. Sometimes even if they don't believe it, but as a way of being part of the crowd. So I think there are so many factors there that we have to consider in terms of why people feel so free to engage in that way online, which they wouldn't do face-to-face, most people.
They never do. They're not that gutsy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say never. Most often not. Dax, you're on a post-secondary campus as well. You see the impact this has on younger people in your daily activities?
Absolutely, I do.
What does it look like?
Well, there's also an algorithmic component, which is previously, if you wanted information, you could go to the library, you'd pick out a book off of a shelf. Now you can get into a pipeline of extremism quite easily, where even innocently stumbling upon some content online, the algorithm will very sneakily just keep pitching you sometimes what appears to be edgy content that might be entertaining. And that's how perceptions are shifted. As far as just digital media use in general, I think we're now catching up to reality and having what I think is a nuanced conversation about navigating a really healthy relationship with technology. And this is really important for youth these days. You know, walking around the Queen's campus, for example, sometimes see people walk into a lamppost staring at their phone, and that might be funny at the moment. But when I look at the relationship that students are navigating with technology, it's a brave new world compared to what I experienced. I remember dial-up internet and the exhilaration of the internet just blossoming, and now it looks like a toxic hellscape in some instances. And I really feel for youth who are navigating that, because the expressive landscape is just so different. There's been a death of nuance, there's been a death of charity. And on university campuses, we're trying to instill something that you might call intellectual humility or civic virtue, how to express themselves across difference and be sensitive to other people, other identities, other experiences. Online, it's very difficult to be intellectually curious. And so universities have a huge role to play in instilling some of those values in society.
Quick follow-up with you. Do you find that young people are so into their phones now and are perhaps inappropriately communicating in a very aggressive, violent way on their phones with each other, they have actually lost the art of civilized conversation? Do you see that?
I don't want to channel my inner boomer here and just say those darn kids these days. I see some very unhealthy engagements with the online digital environment, for sure. Also, when you look at the rates of experiencing mental health, especially among younger cohorts or the younger generation, I think there's an intimate link between online environments and struggling with mental health concerns as well. I think what needs to happen, and perhaps parts of this bill are one way of at least starting a conversation or creating a regulatory framework for this, is that when people are using digital media platforms, they're actually aware of some of the risks that are latent and for some users obvious. People should be cognizant of some of the risks and also the benefits of using technology. And we're really catching up to that conversation, I think.
Go ahead.
I'd like to add, there are obviously harms online, and youth definitely need to be protected. Youth often get criticized for being apathetic and not civically engaged, and they are not interested in joining a political party. Maybe they're not going to come out and vote, but they do use technology towards civic ends in a way that is of use to our society and is of benefit to their mental health and well-being.
Give us an example of this.
Well, actually, during the pandemic, it was youth that were mobilizing and sharing information about how to keep their communities healthy and safe. It was youth that were talking about mobilizing around global movements, Black Lives Matter, climate change. They are very much engaged and able to use digital spaces in a healthy way. They can model better behaviors for the grown-ups in their lives as well. It's not just doom and gloom and horrendous.